Electric guitar fingerboard radius and neck profiles explained. Sometimes when buying our first guitar or buying a new one for our collection, we don't pay attention to certain details such as fingerboard radius or neck profile, but we must take both factors into account, since there may be necks that do not adapt to our needs. In this video, we will see the characteristics of the different fingerboard radius and neck profiles so as not to fail when making a purchase. We start with the different fretboard radius. If we were to extend the slight curvature of the tuning fork until both points meet again, we would obtain a circumference. Obviously, the size of this circle would be greater as the fingerboard is flatter, and the circumference would be less if the fingerboard has a more rounded shape. To differentiate each fingerboard radius, the measurement of the radius of this circumference would be taken as a reference. Consequently, the smaller the measurement of the radius, the greater the curvature of the fretboard, and the larger the measurement, less curvature. Since by increasing the radius, the resulting circumference would also be increased, and for this reason the curvature of the fingerboard is reduced. In general, the most curved fingerboards would be oriented towards rhythm guitarists and the flattest ones to lead guitarists. Although we can also do solos with a guitar with a curved fingerboard and put chords on flatter fingerboards. The problem for a solo guitarist using a highly curved fingerboard is that the bends can mute or even die out halfway through when bending the string. Since the curvature of the fingerboard itself can cause the string to rub or even touch the upper part of the frets, appearing mainly this problem in the central area of the neck. The most logical and simple solution to solve this problem would be to increase the height of the strings, with which the solo guitarist would lose part of the necessary comfort to play passages with a certain speed or with high technical difficulty. Instead, chords would sit more comfortably on a rounder fingerboard than on a flatter one, since the hand more comfortably wraps the neck when making chords. Curved fingerboard radius are characteristic of Fender-style models like Telecasters or even Stratocasters, since it would be very common to find vintage models with a 7.25 inches fretboard radius. Although modern models of both the Telecaster and the standard Stratocaster usually have a 9.5 inches fingerboard, like other Fender designs such as the Jazzmaster or the Mustang, a somewhat more versatile fingerboard range than the vintage 7 feet 25 inches models. Due to its versatility, the most commonly used fingerboard radius by guitar makers today is 12 inches. The 12 inches fingerboard radius is characteristic of Gibson models like the Les Paul or SG, although we can find Strat models like the G&L Tribute Legacy or the Godin Session with a 12 inches fretboard radius. Guitars with a certain orientation towards solo guitarists have an even flatter fingerboard radius of 14 inches like the Schecter Omen Extreme. Guitars with a clear solo character, such as the Ibanez models, the radius can reach 16 inches. Mixed fingerboard radius were developed for greater versatility, producing a fingerboard with a more rounded top and flatter bottom. Thus we will have a little more comfort when placing open chords in the upper part of the neck, and at the same time the advantages of a flatter fingerboard in the lower part to favor the solo guitarist. For example, the Jackson guitars shown in the image have a mixed radius of 12 and 16 inches. You can download some templates to make your own fingerboard radius gauges at electricguitarmanual.com. I've left a link in the description of this video. With this tool you can find out what radius the fretboard of a guitar neck has, and you can also use it to give the strings the same curvature as the fingerboard. You can cut these templates out of thick cardboard to obtain the necessary reference. We move on to the neck profiles. When we talk about a neck profile, we mean the size and shape of the neck at the back. The neck profile will determine the way the neck feels in our hand. So the decision to opt for one profile or another is mostly personal, although each type of profile has its own characteristics. With a cross-sectional image of the neck, the different types of profiles can be easily distinguished. Wider or thicker necks provide a full-bodied sound with more sustain, due to the density and rigidity of the neck. But it can present difficulties for guitarists with small hands. On the other hand, for players with large hands, a neck with a wide profile may be more comfortable than one with a thin profile. This type of profile can also be more comfortable when playing chords. This type of neck would be the so-called U-shaped neck, typical of the first Fender Telecaster models of the 50s, also known as the baseball bat neck. Thick profile resembling the shape of a U with rounded edges and a nearly flat center back, very similar in shape to the neck of a classical guitar. This type of profile is not easy to find in electric guitars these days. However, the so-called slim U profile is very common. Although in my opinion, this type of profile corresponds to the classic D profile, also called modern flat oval, in a more technical language. This type of neck is similar to the U-shaped neck, but with a thinner profile, which favors faster fingering and is generally accompanied by a flatter fingerboard. One of the most popular neck profiles is the C profile, also called oval, and quite similar in width to the D shape, but presenting a more rounded and uniform curvature between both sides of the fretboard. This form is usually quite comfortable and versatile, as it works well in any playing style. This profile is typical of Fender Stratocaster models from the early 1960s. Also from the same era and the same Fender model is the soft V profile, popularized by Eric Clapton. This profile is similar to the thick U-shaped profile, but acquiring the shape of a soft V. Within the V profiles we have the hard V profile, but this type of profile would be better to try calmly before making a purchase. There are also mixed or compound neck profiles, which have one type of profile in the upper part of the neck and another type of profile in the lower part. Some guitarists opt for asymmetrical profiles, with a different profile on each side of the neck. This type of profile is customized by luthiers, so my advice is that if you want to try a profile of this type, leave the work to a professional. There is a lot of paranoia about the neck profiles. The same profile can feel very different depending on the guitar model, its scale length or manufacture. So the decision to look for another type of profile is when we really have serious fatigue problems in the hand or complications in the execution. If we have large hands, a slim profile may not fill the hand enough and fatigue can set in quickly. On the other hand, a very thick neck can complicate the playing of some guitarists. The most used profiles at present are D and C, so it is most likely that you will not have problems with these types of profiles. But for the few who may have a problem with these profiles, they can try wider others. Although given the low sales volume of wide profiles, there is not a wide assortment of this type of profile, unlike the wide range of models with D or C profile.